What's up? Well, we got what, 8 days, right? 8 days to the election. I don't know. Markets are kind of wacko. They haven't done much. We're up much higher overnight, and then came back. I have a little bad news. I lost all my drawings on my charts. Had a meltdown, but you'll get the picture. You get the idea. In the meantime, here we go, right? We're just consolidating so that no matter how big the moves are, they're really not taking out any range. So we're really not getting much of a trend. I mean, again, this is like the American Horror Story. You've got, of course, Warren Buffett not supporting any candidate this time, first time in his career. He didn't support Trump ever, but now he's not supporting Kamala. So I don't know what everybody thinks, but I think the economy's in horrible shape. The green news scam is dying. I don't know. What do you guys think? Tell me what's going on. We have very little growth. You get the farmers that are getting tortured with low prices. And yet we're paying much higher prices. And of course, the Washington Post did not endorse the Democratic candidate. So I find it kind of interesting. Trump is a big favorite right now. A couple of major newspapers not. Yeah. Again, there's not much of an endorsement here. And of course, if you saw Michael Obama speaking last night, I think it was, I don't know, I just saw some tape. I read the crawler when I'm watching the news in the morning, when I'm working out. But again, we got a lot of stuff. I mean, we have a horrible problem with immigration. Again, are you better? I heard a union in Texas endorse Kamala. Yeah, maybe they're for immigration. I don't know, for illegal immigration. What I can't understand is how Buffett wouldn't vote for Trump. Well, it's a great question, and I'll give you the answer. Okay, if you are as rich as Warren Buffett, you would prefer communism or socialism. Do you understand that? Remember, if you're in Russia, and they call them, in China, communist countries call them the oligarchs. If you are among the oligarchs, you want socialism. You want the middle class to be pushed down. Okay. You don't want people to have an equal opportunity to come in and compete with you in your business. That is the same reason that Facebook and Meta and Google went to the government and asked them to put regulations on what they do, so nobody could ever compete, because the problems would be too great to get there. Okay, all I know is we, the American people, are getting fucked. Okay, excuse me, and I want to get that in because I got somebody who's timing how long it takes me to get it in. Okay, so we're getting screwed. Okay, that's the bottom line. Okay, we're paying the taxes for everything else that goes on in this country, for all the stealing and everything that goes on. And of course, we all heard the story and watched AOC, right? Everyone knows who AOC is. And of course, she was a bartender, which there's nothing wrong with being a bartender. Okay, there's nothing wrong with being anything. Okay, as long as you're an honest person. But she went into office busted and in debt, and supposedly now she's worth $11 or $12 million. Think about that for a minute. Okay, she's been in office for 6 years now, and now she's worth about $11 or $12 million from somebody who was a busted bartender. So you tell me about our political system. You tell me about them wanting to change the Constitution. Okay, with the green news scam. Okay, all I can tell you is this. From what I've read, 20% of households are making over $150,000 live paycheck to paycheck. Now, again, depending on where you live, if you live in New York, if you live in Chicago, if you live in California, 150 grand ain't that much. So again, look, what has it done to the markets? Not a lot. I mean, we haven't had any major effect on the markets. Markets, in fact, continue to climb. Now, I think that if you look and you'll see that the interest rate market continues to climb too, and on September the 18th, the 10-year notes were trading at 3.4%. Today, they're trading at 4.27%. So who did the rate cut actually benefit? Who was the rate cut for? Anybody know that? Again, these are facts. These aren't my opinions. I give you my opinions too, but these are facts for the banks because they can make more money now. Okay. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Okay. And we've allowed this to happen. We are just as responsible, maybe not you, maybe not me, but the people are just as much responsible for what's going on in this country than the politicians, because they allow the politicians to get away with it because nobody gives a shit. So I hope, and I don't care who you vote for. You know who I'm voting for. There's not a question. I don't care who you vote for, but I hope you get off your ass and go vote. Okay. That I do care. I would like to see everybody start to participate. Maybe you'll really recognize the problems in this country, and maybe we can get them, at some point for future generations, because it's going to take a long time to get this country back in good shape, in good stead again. So again, I don't know what else to say. I mean, you've got the war ending. Well, I guess they've made it. I guess they've stolen enough money, so there might be a truce in Ukraine. The Chinese have made enough money, and of course that's why they're endorsing Kamala. They're not endorsing. Nobody's endorsing against Trump because it doesn't benefit them. Okay, they're all afraid that he's going to change what they do and how they steal all their money, which he did the last time he was in office. But anyways, I know you're ready, Connie. You're always ready, but I will ask anyways. Are you ready? All right. So as we look at the markets, obviously duller than dull can be. The dollar index, which we don't trade, but here you go. So we heard all the story about the BRICS nations and the end of the US dollar, and the dollar continues to rally. So what does that tell you? Okay. It tells you it's all bullshit. Okay. Look, there's one thing we still have. Okay. We still have the most money and the most power. Okay. Could that ever change? Of course it could. But as it stands now, we are still, as laughable as it is, are still the leaders. In the meantime, the dollar's broken out once again. Now, we don't trade it anymore, but I'd say you're looking at now 103 to 105. 103 to 105. Okay. And the only reason we don't trade it, again, I remind you, is just it's too expensive to use a New York exchange. That's all. It may have bottomed. I mean, it'll be stronger. If Trump does win, it will be stronger. And again, this is the question I've never been able to get the answer to. Okay. And that is why do all the exporters want cheaper dollars when you could just lower your own price? And I mean, again, to me, it doesn't make sense, but whatever it is, it is. The euro currency, 6 Echo. Okay, again, that's obviously the exact opposite. We're actually long this, and I do think that you are at a near-term low, about 108. I think you're 108 to 109. Okay, but I would expect, now again, this is always interesting. It's been so depressed for a while. Again, I'm not a big fan of the euro currency in general. So just so you know, when I'm looking at markets, I'm giving you a straight read off the chart. I'm not influencing my opinion into that read. I will tell you that I think the euro is going to 88 cents eventually. I was close to about a year ago when it got into the 90s, but I think the euro is a worthless piece of crap. But again, it has nothing to do with the chart that we're reading. Okay. And I would expect maybe even this week, you got a lot of information this week. You've got GDP, you've got jobs, you've got all kinds of data. I would not be surprised at all that if we came back next Monday and the euro currency was trading at 110, okay, which would be a penny or two higher. And I would not be surprised at all. And if you want to understand how much a penny or two higher it is, every penny on a futures contract, on a full-size futures contract, is worth $1,250. Okay. So again, I think you're 108 to 109, but it wouldn't surprise me if we did pop up to 110. Again, there's going to be something going, somewhere they're going to do something. Okay. Everybody does something to try to prop something up. The notes, again, they continue to get clobbered. Okay. We are long them, but they continue to get clobbered. Okay. And again, this is something that interest rates continue to rise, which will also be a characteristic of what Trump's plans are. Okay. I mean, interest rates are too cheap to begin with. Okay. I mean, I know that we got spoiled, and if you're young, you really got spoiled. But interest rates themselves, they when they're so low, they don't create much growth. Okay, because it doesn't, the growth you're getting is not real. In the meantime, I think you're looking at a support level at about 110, and I think your resistance is about 112. Okay, I would expect a little bit of a pop here. Okay, but interest rates should be higher. Interest rates force you to work harder. Interest rates keep the Federal Reserve out of the picture, and they actually create a true market. Okay, and the market we've been watching since they started with this plan, going back to Alan Greenspan, has been more controlled than actually free. Does that make sense? The bonds, again, they continue to get clobbered too. We're also along the bonds. Okay, and again, I'm telling you that I expect a massive push up. Again, I don't expect it to hold. Okay, but I would not see. I'd say 117 is your support, and I'd say 122 is your resistance. Okay, lower rates for sure punish the savers. They for sure punish the elderly. Okay, because the elderly, remember, everybody reaches a point, unless you own some massive conglomerate company or whatever. But most people reach a point. Your earning power peaks at a certain point in time, and then eventually it starts to slow, and you need places to be invested, and you need places to have safer money. And so a lot of the people that have little money need those higher interest rates so they can save their money and at least live the life they lived growing up. Are you saying higher interest rates make the market better, make the market more free? Yeah, I do, because that would show you that the free market was determining what interest rates were, not the Federal Reserve. Okay. Asset classes will price themselves. Okay. Does that make sense? So when you buy something, okay, some of us just go into a store and buy. I don't. I mean, I refuse to overpay. I'm too cheap. Okay. And don't get me wrong, I get overpaid sometimes anyways, even though I'm too cheap. But at the end of the day, any asset that you buy should be priced by the free market and not manipulated or controlled by the government or by the Federal Reserve. Okay. So higher interest rates, if you know what's going on in the interest rate market, if you're a farmer, you're probably paying over 10% and have been all through. Okay. If you're borrowing from a peer-to-peer lender, you're paying 14 or 15%. If you're borrowing from your credit card, you're paying in the mid-20s. So what does that tell you? Can the market bear higher interest rates? Of course it can. Okay. But when you have a scam of the Federal Reserve working with the banks, because the banks own the Federal Reserve, supposedly, okay, they just make a bigger spread. What do they care? But if rates were low, the market would still be there. The market will still always be here. But again, when houses become day trades, okay, that is not a true free market. Okay, when assets that are that type of price and that type of thing they're not a true free market. Okay, they're only trading money. Okay, there's a difference between actual true price discovery and trading money. Okay, when interest rates were so low, and like for example, here I give you the perfect example. I own 2 houses. Okay, when I could mortgage them for 2 3/4, I borrowed every dime I could on both houses. Why? Because I can make more money on a percentage basis than 2 3/4. Does that make sense to you? That should always be the main source of growth. That's correct. You have to eliminate that. You have to allow people to pay, and you can't allow them to get so deep in the hole. That this is listen, the whole I could go on forever, but I'm not. Okay. But the whole con game from the credit card companies, not the credit card companies, but your credit score. Your credit score used to mean something. Now you make a phone call, you get 20 extra credit points. All they're doing is facilitating the banks. Okay. So they can loan you more money because it doesn't matter to the banks because they're going to get bailed out by who? The taxpayer. All right, enough of me. Bitcoin, Bravo Tango Charlie. Okay, up at the top end of the range. Here you go. So we thought 72,000 is what we called last week, and we said 64,000. Well, here we are. We're at the upper end of the range. We happen to be actually shorted. Okay, but I think it will have a little bit of a pullback because a little bit of bought. Okay. 6% from the all-time high. Bitcoin? Yeah, I'm sure. Listen, I think Bitcoin's going a lot higher. Okay. I think what you see in the metals and what you see in Bitcoin, I think that people are really getting concerned that they may need an alternative currency. Okay. And that would be gold, silver, platinum, Bitcoin, or one of the top cryptos, Ethereum, whatever. Okay. But from a trading standpoint, again, we can talk theory on everything. Okay. But at the end of the day, we look at the chart. What do you think about options being approved for the Bitcoin ETFs? How will that have, well, I mean, the Bitcoin ETFs that I know have had options on them all along. Okay. I mean, Bido, which is the one we look at, they have options. So there's been options all along. I don't know about the approval. Okay. Listen, it never hurts, but what that really tells you, now this is something to take note of. What them approving options to tells you about cryptocurrency is that it is real, is what I've said all along. Okay, because if the SEC and all those criminal agencies are going to approve and allow them to be traded, audio's on you, pal, not on me. I can't help you. Okay, everybody can hear me fine, right? So at the end of the day, when they start approving it, means that they're believers in it. Okay, they believe it's a viable product. So again, that's already been accounted for. Okay, so I gave you this right at 64 to 72. Gold continues to try to push a little higher, and again, I expect a pullback in gold. Look, I love gold, and listen, it can go up forever as far as I'm concerned. Excuse me, we're actually short it right now, but I think now 2,700 is going to be the support now. Okay, I think you're 27 to 2,800. Okay, but I do believe that there's a chance you could see and should see 2,600. Okay, but 27 to 2,800 for today. Again, I think you've got, I think we're probably a little bit overdone here. We're probably a little bit overbought here. The volumes have been relatively light anyways. And again, you've got so many people out there now selling, Costco and the whole story. But in the meantime, again, I'm not going to complain. I think that you will see, no markets typically go straight up forever. There's usually a pullback, and any of you who's watched markets for any length of time knows that there's going to be a pullback. Okay. The same goes for silver, which again is just kind of hovering. I think 35 was our target. Remember, I told you to get to 35 this year when it was down there in the 20s. Here we are. So now what? Well, I think you're 33 to 35. Okay. And certainly if I were buying it, when I'm buying it myself, I don't care. I don't look for, I'm not trying to price it up, right? If I'm going to buy it in physical, I'm putting it in my safe. I'm putting it in, wherever. Okay. And I'm not worried about what I'm paying for it because I'm not getting rid of it. But if I'm paper trading it, which is what we're doing here, okay, I'd be looking for a spot to sell. And certainly I'd be a seller at 35. We're already short, but I'd be a seller at 35. Here people are doing Costco gold arbitrage. buying Costco and selling. Well, I think they probably are, because the Costco was selling at spot, and nobody buys at spot. Okay. In the meantime, 33 to 35 platinum, which we don't trade, but if we did, we'd be probably getting ready to short it right here. Okay. I think we're ready to our target 1050 on the upside. Okay. I think you're now 1,000 to 1050. And again, it can go higher. Okay. You're going to see this in other charts. I'm giving you an area, but when I give you an area, that doesn't mean that that's an immediate sell at that point. What I'm telling you is, with the ones that I told you that I think are going lower are ones that I'm looking for a spot to enter. Does that make sense? Nothing is automatic. Nothing says I'm going to sell this at this price for sure. Okay. I will give you parameters, and I will give you areas where I'm going to look at it. Okay. And I'd like to sell it. I think the correct side is to sell it, but it doesn't mean that if it hits $35, I'm selling it tomorrow. Okay. Good afternoon, my brother. Nice to see you. Okay. That does not mean I'm selling it tomorrow. Nice buy on natural gas so far. I didn't want to pay that much. I'm too cheap. Anyways, copper, okay, which is again just hovering, doing nothing. I think you're looking at 430 to 440, 430 to 440. Now, if I'm right about the economy, which I think I am, I think copper is going a lot lower again. Okay. Now we've held up very well, but at the end of the day, 430 to 440, and I think it's really pretty much untradeable right now. You got stopped out, made 1,600, nice trade. When I see what the difference is, when I buy the natural gas, which I will, and I'll talk about it when I get there, I want to hold it for a while. I don't want to get stopped out, but it's a great trade. Don't get me wrong. Wheat, boy, these grains, I don't know. I'm so far wrong on these grains. I mean, we're short corn and flat the other two, but I'm so wrong on what I thought here. But again, this is why we don't predict what the markets are going to do. But certainly, okay, I would think if wheat gets down to 550, I would give a serious look to be a buyer. Okay, 550 is where I'd be looking. It is already oversold right now, but I would definitely look at 550. Okay, to be a buyer, no matter what's going on. I think you're looking at $5.50 to $6 right now. Okay, there's going to be a pop. As I've said before, you've seen that I'm not always right, but I'm right a big percentage of the time when I give you these types of calls, right? And again, I'm not telling you that it's going to happen tomorrow. I think it gets to 550. You got to watch and see the action at 550. Okay. And we will have, remember, we're together every week. And some of you see me every day, but we're together every week. And you will have plenty of time to get involved when I decide to say, hey, it is time. Does that make sense? Corn, again, just chopping around. We're short corn. But I think corn now is showing some new resistance at 420. I think it's $4 to 420. And soybeans just continue to lollygag down towards the bottom. Again, these are all somewhere, I would think, probably 960 in soybeans, 960 to 1040. But again, I am not ready to jump in and buy anything right now of these. I am certainly ready to buy, but I am not going to buy until I get a reason to do so. Now, one reason would be like soybeans go down 50 cents tomorrow, I'd be a buyer almost automatically. But if they're going to just slide slower, I have no interest. Okay, that's the difference. Tim Walz is a soybean. Tim Walz is an idiot. Okay, in Minnesota, everything's great in Minneapolis, but of course we saw the peaceful protesting. But in the meantime, again, everything that I give you now depends on A, the levels, but B, how they get there and what they do once they get there. Again, if soybeans opened up down 50 cents tonight or tomorrow morning, I would almost buy them blind. Okay, but they're just grinding lower. Okay, what do I need to jump in for? There's no hurry. Cattle, it's coming to get me. I'm not out yet, but again, we don't trade it anymore, but I'm still in it. I think my stop is going to be right around there. Okay, right there. Okay, I think it's 186 to 192. I don't understand it. I don't know who's buying it, but God bless America. They're buying it. Gold was gold. I did that an hour ago to 2,700 to 2,800. 186 to 192. Feeders I don't trade at all, but they're just, again, you notice the biggest concern for everything that everybody does, the biggest concern for every trader right now, okay, is the lack of speed, the lack of activity, the lack of real movement. These very narrow, tight trading days do nobody any good whatsoever. Okay. In the feeders, I'd be looking at 245 to 252. And you notice how the ranges, and they just had a big report too, and they did nothing off of it. Hogs, well, I told you I sold mine last week, and again, obviously I was wrong. I didn't get short. I told you I wanted to rebuy them. But again, this is what I'm talking about. This overbought condition can last longer than you think. Now, maybe tomorrow, again, what I'd like to see is I'd like to see a buy on volume. And again, I don't have a number to give you, but let's just say 86. Okay. I'd like to see a big up day and a big spike, 86. And I'd like to be a buyer at about 78. Okay. And again, I'm trying to account for a blow off to the upside followed by a pullback. Okay. Right now, I have nothing to do. The only thing I could possibly do right here is to be a seller. And I'm not ready to be a seller yet. I was a buyer, I was an owner, and then I sold. And of course, I sold a couple of bucks too early, but I don't ever worry about that because if you're making profit, does it matter? Natural gas. Okay. Now we're flat natural gas. Again, I'd like to be a buyer at some point. This mild start to the fall and the winter. One of you guys asked me about it today and bought some today and made 1,600 bucks today. And it was good. Okay. And I would like to find a level to buy it. Now I'm going to change it real quick here just for the moment. I want to put up December. Okay. Because this is going to come off the board pretty quick. December. There you go. Okay. I'd like to be a buyer somewhere around 275. Okay. Again, please remember, I'm not telling you to jump in at 275 tomorrow, but if it gets there and you do trade it, I want you to take a look at it and look at the chart. Okay. And the steps that you take to do that is you look here. Now this is a blow off. Okay. You look here and then you go to a time frame which you are comfortable with. And of course, the time frame you are comfortable has to be also commensurate with the risk you're willing to take. Now, if I were looking at this and I saw this chart, I might have been a buyer of natural gas somewhere around in here. I'm never going to buy the bottom. Okay. What's a good time frame to trade the Widowmaker? One day, I think it's a day. I like a daily. I always like a daily because I want to be able to act quicker. I think it's a daily with a 30-minute. Okay. A daily with a 30-minute would be what I'd look at. Okay. But again, you can do this on any combination. The shorter your short-term time frame. Now, of course, you would have potentially, if you were watching this and trading this, you would have bought it somewhere right around here. Okay, in the same neighborhood, give or take. Okay, but again, it's something that you have to, again, understand and remember. The shorter the time frame that you want to trade, the faster the action can move, and the more risk you are. The longer the time frame is, the more is a riskier time frame, but it can be more profitable. Anyways, I think you're looking at 280 to 310. But I do think it's probably a buy at some point. Okay. Crude got clobbered overnight. Now we're short crude. I would assume we're going to be covering shortly. This has been very much oversold. I think your resistance is 72. I think your support is going to be, I would probably expect, I'm going to reach a little bit here to 65. Okay. But if you trade it, I'd start to look at it at 66. Okay. Again, you have to recognize what you're looking to do. Okay. I'm looking to be a buyer at some point down here. Okay. You have to recognize it and then you have to have a reason. Okay. Now this could be over the last 2 weeks, this would be a blow off, but over the normal volume, it's really not even close. So again, this was on relatively light volume as well. Okay, 65 to 72. The softs I don't cover anymore. So will anybody want any of the softs? Is there any particular one you want? I mean, you shouldn't be trading them unless you're a professional. And even then, you might not should be trading them because they're really thin right now. Okay. And lumber, which we just look at for a bellwether, I don't know. Is the economy good or bad? I can't tell. This is not, the copper and lumber are not giving me any information as to whether they're good or bad. Okay. So I don't know. Okay. All I can tell you is that we don't trade it because it's not liquid enough to trade. It doesn't trade enough volume, but it really hasn't done anything. And you could make a case that it has turned into an uptrend. You could make a case that it's forming an ascending triangle that if it breaks to the upside, then it's going to continue to go. Okay. Walmart reported it's bad. Well, that's what I think it's bad. Okay. Inverse head and shoulders could be. I'm not a big fan of that pattern, but it could be. Listen, I don't say it doesn't work. One of the problems with a lot of the big patterns that people look at and teach you, okay, there's so many trades you miss in between that, because there's components of the head and shoulders, the components of the company handle that can allow you to get in trades a lot earlier and actually make 3 or 4 trades in the time that you would wait for that one trade to come. Okay, nothing wrong with that. Again, everything depends on your style and what you want to do. I get no problem with it. I mean, I can spot them, but you'll always hear me say the same thing. There's a lot of different components here that would give me things to do. Okay, long before.
You know how the financial world goes. Here comes the buzzkill. Please make sure to take some time to read this boring disclaimer. We will owe you one.